So, hi everyone. My name is Christina Garcia. I will be your speaker for today. Thank you for attending today's webinar on how to choose your donor. This webinar will be recorded and shared with all our registered participants via email. And again, my name is Christina Garcia. I am the Cryobank manager for Fairfax Cryobank. I will be your speaker today. We also have Doreen Bond, who is our manager of client services, and she's going to help me with all your questions at the end. You can go ahead and enter all of your questions in our queue, and at the end of the webinar, we'll go over all those. We also have our moderator, Morgan Barker, who is our marketing director. She will be helping us also with our Q&A at the end. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Again, thank you everybody for attending today's webinar, How to Choose Your Donor. I'd like to go over our webinar goals for today. We're going to go ahead and go over our donor categories and brands, specimen types and procedures, donor products and information, and I'm also going to do a live donor search demonstration so we can maneuver around the website so you can see how to get to the specific donors and check the categories you like, etc. We are also going to go over the forums and resources as well as the Q&A. So once we've completed the webinar, we'll do the Q&A with our client services manager, Doreen Bond. All right. So before we dive into our webinar goals, let's talk about getting started. So normally we have about two types of clients. We have clients who are ready to do their procedure and clients who are just beginning their journey. Either way, Fairfax wants to make this process and choosing a donor as easy as possible because ultimately, this is an exciting time in your life and you're about to make an important decision for your future, not only for yourself and also maybe for your family as well. So if you haven't done so already, I highly recommend talking to a medical professional. They will help guide you in your fertility goals and give you advice on what to do. If you choose to do a home insemination, then we can also, help guide you in that as well. Next, you're going to want to complete the terms of use, the TOU. You can sign this electronically or do this, I believe, via email, but electronically it's super easy. You can do it on our website. I highly recommend doing it ASAP because you don't stress at the very end because you might have a medical professional that tells you, let's do our procedure in a week, and you're trying to scramble and do everything. But see, you already did your TOU, you're ready, and you're good to go. All right, so now the fun part. We do receive a lot of, questions. How do I start? Where do I begin? We simply just tell all of our clients that, sit down and create a list of characteristics that you value and are important to you. Some people might think physical characteristics are important, ethnic background, personality, education, donor categories, etc. So we actually have approximately 350 donors that you can choose from. This number actually fluctuates daily, so you can always check on the website to see if we've added new donors or if there's still vials available, etc. So, and also to add into this, our marketing team and our specific sites are diligently working on recruiting donors. So they are trying to diversify our donor pool every day. So, but we're also open to new ideas if you have them as well. All right, so let's get to donor categories. So we have non-ID, ID, and non-ID to ID donors. Non-ID donors simply means that they did not agree to release their identifying information to the donor conceived person, the DCP. This is also known as your adult child. So basically this donor might have felt at the time that he was just not ready to release his information, or he just wanted to remain private. ID donors, on the other hand, agree to release their identifying information to DCP as long as they are 18 plus years old. So as of March 2020, Fairfax decided to only accept ID donors. So we made this personal decision because we wanted to evolve in the industry along with society. So it's an important decision for us. And also we wanted to, give our DCPs a chance to know who their donor is. Non-ID to ID donors. So California passed legislation to allow non-ID donors to change to ID. This began in January 2020. It is not mandatory. However, our non-ID donors are asked annually if they would like to become an ID donor. We don't change their status category on our website. They will remain non-ID, but if they do decide to change or make any updates or even other changes, we will include this in the summary profile, which I'll show you later. When the DCP requests an ID information when they're, again, 18 plus years old, the process will also be the same. I will also go over this at the end. But overall, this decision is up to you. So we will support you whatever preference you may have. All right, so next, onto the donor brand codes. We have 3 brands: Fairfax, PRS, CLI, and our main sperm bank is Fairfax Cryobank. But they did acquire PRS in 2016, and we are located in the California branch. We also have Cryogenic Laboratories. Fairfax acquired CLI in 2002 and is located in Minnesota. All of these sperm banks are under the Fairfax family and can be ordered on the Fairfax website, or if you have any type of inquiries, you can contact client services as well. So overall, why choose us though? Choosing a sperm bank is just as important as choosing a donor. We may want to consider certain factors, especially your clinic. So clinics will definitely want to see if maybe the sperm bank is FDA regulated or licensed. Do they have a good reputation? How's their sperm quality? Is there extensive infectious disease or genetic testing? How's their screening? Are they, a big, huge thing is also, are the prices competitive? So you can take everything into play and see if, what works for you as far as the sperm bank goes. All right, so let's go on to the next topic. So from brands to vial types and procedures. So this is a popular topic, and we always tell our clients, ask your medical professional what they prefer. All right, so let's go over what the keywords are below. We have IUI, which is intrauterine insemination, ICI, intracervical insemination, ART, assisted reproductive technology, IVF, in vitro fertilization, and ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injection. So below, we have the different vial types available. We have the IUI vials, which are pre-washed vials and have at least 10 million motile sperm. Seminal fluid was removed prior to freezing, and 1 vial can be used for 1 procedure. So if you're doing 1 procedure in a cycle, then normally you'll just need 1 vial. If you're doing maybe 2 IUI procedures in 1 cycle, then you would need 2 vials for that. These vials are for those who don't really have the capability of washing sperm. For example, sometimes we have like midwives or OBGYNs that don't have the actual clinic or lab to process that sperm. So they will, have a preference, which is the IUI vials. ICI vials are not washed, and they still have at least 10 million motile sperm. The seminal fluid was not removed prior to the freezing. These ones are like good for like home inseminations and intracervical inseminations. If the clinics request these vials, they must have the capability of washing the specimen before the in-office procedure. It's very important to know if your clinic does have that capability, and they'll let you know as well. Again, one vial can be used for one procedure. ART vials are either IUI or ICI, but they have at least 6 million motile sperm. You can use one vial for IVF. Normally, the clinic will request unwashed type of vials, but if you are working with a clinic that you're doing in-office insemination, or you're doing a home insemination, then you can combine 2 vials for one procedure. ICSI vials is also IUI or ICI, but has only 3 million, at least 3 million motile sperm. Primarily, these are used for IVF or ICSI procedures, especially for ICSI because they are injecting the sperm directly into the egg. So we started making these vials because most people don't need to require as much sperm. So if they are not available, you could still also use the other types. When you look onto the right-hand side, you can see the key there. We'll just go briefly over what type of procedures that we have, that we have clients calling in and requesting vials for. So the in-office insemination, the IUI. So your medical professional will use a medical catheter which will bypass the vaginal canal and go through the cervix directly into the uterus. So it is very, very, very important to have a washed vial. Below you can see like there's the premium IUIs and the IUI arts. Those are the highly recommended vials. But again, if your clinic can wash the specimen, they can use the ICI vial types. For the in-office insemination and home insemination, which is the intracervical, for home insemination and in-office inseminations, they're very similar. So you will use a needleless syringe, and the thawing instructions that we'll provide you. You'll basically insert the syringe with the sperm into the vagina and release it onto the cervix. So the vagina basically serves like a natural wash. For more information on home insems, we do have a wonderful webinar on our blog and I believe on YouTube that you can watch. We do have a lot of people who pick up for home inseminations, and we do recommend that to them. All right, so long story short, ICI vials are the preferred vials for those procedures. IVF with or without ICSI, again, you'll see unwashed types are the good vials and recommended vials, but talk to your medical professional because sometimes if donors don't have those vials available, you can see what your other options are. All right, so let's go to a little bit more fun stuff. All right, so we have the donor products and information. So we have a lot of tools that can help narrow down your search and your choices. Let's start with the free products. We have free products, and then we have products on the right-hand side where they have a fee for that. So let's start with the free ones. We have the childhood photo, the summary profile. So this is a brief overview of like what the physical and medical history is. There's family history with 3 to 4 generations. So I say 4th generation because some of the donors, I think about 20% of them actually have their own children. There's also religion and any updates, including the non-ID information, will be listed here. Also with any of the changes and updates the donor will provide us. We have staff impressions of the donor. So this is simply the staff's impression of the donor's physical appearance and personality. We have donor essays. We provide questions to the donors and they'll answer them in written form. Medical profile, we have, this is where you'll see personal behaviors, sexual history, genetic history, ancestry, also donor and family history as well. So the genetic testing summary, this is important to a lot of our clients. This will show you what tests have been done for the donors. Obviously, the older donors don't have as many tests as the new ones because simply genetic testing has evolved so much over the years. So you'll be able to see the whole printout, and I'll also show you in the demonstration as well what it looks like. January 2018, our new donors were tested over 280 recessive diseases. January 2022, we were at 502, and now this year we started as like 514 recessive diseases. So if you are interested in the genetic world and all that information, we do have an amazing genetic counselor, Suzanne Seitz, who has a wonderful webinar that you can learn on our blog or YouTube. So other information we have is audio clips from the donor and staff. We have like 1 to 2 minute clips from the full audio interview. Face match, I'll talk about on the next slide. It's a fun tool that you guys can use. So let's go into products for purchase. So we also have the personal profile. So this is the very, very extensive version of the summary profile. We have a silhouette where it's a blacked out side profile of the donor. The adult photos, we started about, I think, about 3 to 4 years ago. I think we're also about 50% of our donors have the adult photos. Lifetime series photos, it's not a requirement, but you can see if the donors have them. I feel like more and more of the donors are participating in that. The full audio interview. So this is one of my favorite tools and highly recommend. It's about 15 to 20 minutes. It's a full length version of the clip that's for free, but it's great because there'll be a question asked to the donor and you can hear, their voice, you can hear their speech, the tone, their emotions, just the response in general. It to me is one of my favorite tools. So I highly recommend if you can get that one. Personality type, this basically they do a test to see maybe if they're like an extrovert, introvert, if they're athletic, etc. All right. So here is the face match tool. Like I said, it's a fun and free tool to use. So you can upload a picture, whether it's your partner, friend, celebrity, or anyone you'd like, as long as the picture is clear enough. It's an interactive way to help you select your donor. So basically, the technology will like compare two facial images shape. So for example, like their facial structure. It doesn't, however, recognize color, so you can input the eye or hair color yourself. I'll also show you down the line too when we do the example. All right, so once it is all calculated, you'll receive either high, medium, or low results. Don't be alarmed because not all FaceTimes are alike. So you might receive more medium or low results, but at the same time, I highly recommend it. Again, it's free, and I'll show you where to go. All right, so let's go to grab some water. All right, so we have the unlimited access packages, ULAs. As you can see on the right-hand side, we have 4 different type of packages. All of them, you get 90-day unlimited access. And I really highly recommend, especially if you're interested in multiple donors, that you can look into the different levels and see what works for you. As you can see, the first line says free. So all those free items that I mentioned to you on the previous slide, those are what you can get. Basic access, you will include the personal profile and silhouette. The full access will also include the audio interview, lifetime photos, adult child photos, and personality types. Full access with Club Fairfax. It does look a little pricey, but believe me, the benefits are worth it. As you can see, if you scroll to the bottom part of it, you'll get 2 free shipping fees. And so I believe our fees are around in the 300s, 360 range. So right there, you're getting your money back. And if you buy 5 vials, you'll receive the 6 free anytime within the 12-month time period. And you'll be able to see the new donors within the time period as well, the 12 months. If you have any questions about this, Doreen will be helping you at the end. All right, so I think we're going to be going to our donor search. Let me move her around here. All right, so you will want to go to the fairfaxcryobank.com website. On the very top, you can scroll down. We have the English, Spanish, and obviously I'm going to use the USA English. All right. So to your left, you will see donor search. You can click on that, and it will give you the whole queue. So let's start with all this information here. So under the basic search, you'll see where it says donor category. This is where I explain where they're non-ID or ID. You can choose height, ancestry, hair color, eye color, education, if they have an adult photo, and specimen types. If you want to do an advanced search, you can click on here. This is where you can see the brand codes. You can scroll down and look at all the different types of ethnicity backgrounds. And then you can see skin tone, hair type. So CMV, sometimes we get a lot of questions about CMV. So don't be alarmed. So if you do see a positive CMV for one of the donors that you choose, it just means that they have been exposed in the past and carry the protective antibodies. They do not have an active infection. Any donors with active infections will be deferred from the program, and then the vials will be destroyed. So do not worry about that. There are a lot of mixed reviews from medical professionals, so we just highly recommend that you just talk to your medical professional for their advice on that. Okay. And then we have the age range, positive pregnancy. If you're doing an IVF or ICSI procedure, a lot of times your medical professional will ask if there is a positive pregnancy because you are spending a lot of money on those procedures. So it's good to have a donor that has had a positive pregnancy. Blood type and Rh factor, definitely talk to your medical professional about that. Here is the genetic testing search. So as I mentioned, many of our donors have the extended genetic disease testing panels. They can be from the 280 and above, but if you want to, choose a donor that's had an expanded panel, you can click on here. You can also click if they've all been negative. It's very minimal that all donors have all negative testing, especially with the expansion of 500 and over. If you know that you are a carrier for a specific genetic disease or the gene's name, you can click on here. This is the testing that you want to look on first. So you can scroll down and see all the different type of genetic disease tests here. And if you see one, you click on it, and then when you pull up the donors, it'll give you an option of, that donor is negative. So those won't even show up. If you actually know the specific gene name, you can click on here. So this will show you all the gene names on here. If for some reason you don't see your genetic carrier or the actual gene name on this list, then you can call client services and they can direct you to the correct person to give you advice. Maybe there's a possibility that you can ask your donor, or we can ask our donors if they can do additional testing. But contact client services, they have the information of that process. So also, if you look at lifestyle search, you can see where there's astrology, favorite subject, religion, their Jewish ancestry, favorite pet, their personal goals, their talents, and hobbies. So I'm just going to click on something kind of basic. I'm going to choose an ID donor, and let's see, and if they have an adult photo. And I'm going to click on the search button. As you can see, Fairfax face match. I'll go back to that once we're done looking at the profile. All right. So 160 exact matches. This is where you can scroll down. It'll give you a brief information on here for each of the donors that are good matches for you. And then once you click on the number, you can actually click to see their full-length profile. All right. I just clicked on the first donor so we can look at what, we can scroll down and look at the items that he has. So here you can see a little brief overview and then all of his brief information that is free to look at. Over to the top right, this information is all the free stuff that you can click on and download. So example, summary profile, we can click on that. And then here is all of his information, just the brief information, as I mentioned, as the free info. And then at the very bottom, this is where you'll see updates to profile. So this is anything that the donor has provided for any changes in his life, personal, medical, family history. And then this is where you also see the donors who are non-ID to ID information. All right. So, and then you see the staff impressions, donor essays. Here is a free clip. We can listen to it quickly.
Donor 6826 tells us about the type of values he would like to pass on to his own children.
So I think the biggest one is like the perseverance of things. So like, not giving up right away, making sure you keep getting up and you keep trying until you get it.
All right, so you can hear a little bit of what they say. Down below, the full audio interview, as I mentioned, it's like about 15 to 20 minutes. So this is just a brief clip that you can hear what they say. And then also you can hear a brief.
Donor 6826 is a big dreamer whose goal is to give back to the community once he owns his own business.
So there again, you can hear what the staff has to say about the donor. Here's the medical profile you can download, and here's also the genetic testing. So if you download the item, it will be here, okay? And it'll print, it'll come up as a PDF, so you can print it at home. And if, for some reason you want to ask advice for your medical professional, you can bring this to them and, they can give you advice if whether to use this donor or not. So here, you can scroll down, it's very lengthy. It looks like he's done the 502 genes. So, and you can see what he's positive for, and then scroll all the way down, and there's many, many pages. So you can take a look at that. And since he has a genetic risk, what you can do is either download the disclosure, it'll be here. You can you can read over all of the status and the conditions. And if you really want this donor, you can initial it and sign, and it'll go to the client service team. And then easier way to do it, DocuSign. Sign the DocuSign and it'll automatically go into the inbox that needs to go to the specific person. So here down below, these are all the items for purchase. So if you don't want to get a 90-day unlimited access plan, which is also below here too, you can always do a la carte. Say you only want, I just want a personal profile of one donor. You don't necessarily have to have a plan. You can do everything a la carte. I just say do an unlimited plan because I think you can save a lot more money, especially if you're going to look at multiple items. Okay, so the ordering sperm here, will show you what he has available. So it'll say like almost gone. So the IUI and the ICI premium vials is what we discussed. They're the one vials that have at least 10 millimodal sperm. Then you have the IUI and ICI arts, and also the ICSI, what he has available. Okay, and then again, you can always contact client services. They will help you every step of the way. Let's go back and I will show you what to do for face match. Click on here. So here you can see, you can choose ancestry, eye color, hair color. I'm going to go and choose probably my professional pick that I have here. And then let's click on that. So what we can see is we'll do a search. We'll wait. All right, cool. So I got about 20 exact matches. And, you can scroll down and obviously look at all the different types of donors. I'm actually Filipino, English, and Irish. So I can click on this donor and see what he has available and see if, he's interesting to me. And the same thing, you get all the free items, or you can do the a la carte or the unlimited plans, etc. So it's a pretty easy tool to use. All right. So that's that for the demonstration. I'm going to go back. I promise I'm almost done. So let's start presentation. Oh, I have to start all over here. All right. So if you definitely have any questions about, any of the donors, you can contact client services and they'll definitely be able to help you. All right, so let's go into family limits and registration. So reporting your birth is extremely important. We heavily rely on the reporting system. You can report it easily on our website. Fairfax stops distribution to new clients when there are 25 families reported in the US. We also distribute globally, but we also follow all the local international regulations. For example, the UK only accepts 10 families versus the US is 25 families. So we do follow their regulations. And again, reporting births are very important. If you are a client who chooses an ID donor, you must register the birth as an ID registration. It's not mandatory, but if you do want your adult child to have the opportunity to contact us in the future when they turn 18, you must register your birth. This is specifically only for ID donors. So this will tie in with the below information. we have the donor conceived person DCP process. So again, when your child turns 18, the DCP will contact the cryobank themselves. We will only provide information to them and not the clients. So they can fill out the request form, either DocuSign or we can send via email. I believe you can mail it in, but it's just quicker to do it through DocuSign or mail. They will also need to provide identification such as ID, birth certificate, or passport, and they can complete that as well at the same time. So once we receive the items, we will confirm the ID birth information in our system. And then we will reach out to the donor for their preferred method of contact. We do this as a courtesy for our donors, and they must respond in an allotted time frame. So if they do respond, we will provide the DCP only, the name, the date of birth, and the preferred method of contact. If we do not receive the response in a allotted time frame, then we'll provide the name, date of birth, and all of their contact information. All right. So with resources, Fairfax has a ton of resources that you can use and check it out on our website. Their blog has like testimonials, old webinars, new webinars, blogging information, different bloggers. The Fairfax newsletter. So if you do subscribe to the newsletter, you can get promotions, you can get giveaways from Fairfax or different influencers. You can see the new donors on here as well. There's new testimonials, there's different tips you can do, and all the Fairfax updates. So there's plenty of information that you can look at on the newsletter. Fairfax Family Forums. So this is a place where recipients and DCPs can connect. There's forums that have specific donors. So with clients, if you have a specific donor that you had a birth result from, you can contact our coordinator and they'll help you with that process. If for some reason there is no specific donor, you can always start a new forum. There's also other general forums as well. DCPs must be 18 plus years old and have a confirmed birth, whether if it's an ID or non-ID. We will accept whether or not, obviously you can't be into the DCP program for ID donors, but if you did have a non-ID donor, you can also start a new forum as well if there's not one available, or you can join the current one. So all you have to do is register with our coordinator and they will confirm the birth information and then you're ready to go. All right, so if you guys are ready to purchase, again, highly recommend completing the terms of use. This means you already have it done and you can contact the client service team. Again, they will help you with all of your inquiries, your donor ordering, any type of information, shipping, etc. So the information below, you can contact the 800 number, or if you're international, you can contact the global@fairfax.com email address. Make sure you're going to have your donor number or numbers. I highly recommend having a few numbers just in case the availability is not for you and you can have a backup plan. Vial types and numbers of the vials, clinic information, whether they want it shipped or pick up, or else you can also store their vials at Fairfax locations. We do have several locations. I am in Pasadena, California, so we have a location here. We have our corporate office, Fairfax, Virginia. We have Houston and Austin, Texas, Roseville, Minnesota, Philly, Pennsylvania, Miami, Florida. So those are our different locations. You can contact client services, and if you want to either pick up from there or store vials from there. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me talk and trying to explain how to choose a donor. We do have a promo code for Choose 2023, and you can save $149 on the full unlimited access through October 27th. So highly recommend again. That's a huge savings. Again, you will have like free shipping. You can buy 5 vials and get the 6th one free within the 12-month period, and also look at new donors. So if you have any questions, Doreen Bond's going to help me with all your client service needs. I am not a medical professional, but if you do have a question, I'd be happy to try to get that answer for you. So that concludes the webinar for today, and we can start the Q&A soon.
We already have some great questions that have been rolling in today through the webinar. So thank you to those who submitted those. The first one here, does it matter if the donor has a reported pregnancy? Does it increase the odds of getting pregnant if they have already reported a pregnancy?
It doesn't like increase your odds. It's just simply for like clinics who do recommend using a donor that has already a pregnancy. So it doesn't really increase your odds. Obviously, we do have donors who have their first pregnancy, so it's just simply your clinic's preference.
I would also like to add that generally I tell clients that it can take up to a year for pregnancies or births to be reported to us. Sometimes our clients, they want to wait and make sure that their child's born healthy, or they're concentrating on other things before they report that information to us. So, sometimes it does take a bit for the donors on our website to reflect that.
Great point.
Okay, great. Next question. When a recipient is CMV negative, do you guys propose using a donor who's also CMV negative? There is conflicting info online from doctors and sperm banks.
So yes, if you are negative, it doesn't hurt to use a negative donor. Again, you have to talk to your medical professional because we don't really want to give you that medical advice. They will give you their preference. But for a lot of, historically, we've had our clinics who had clients that were negative, and they've been recommended to use negative CMV donors. But again, it's up to your medical professional.
Great. Do non-ID donors have photos?
So they're all going to have, the majority are going to have the childhood photos, and some are going to have the adult child photo set, as well as lifetime photos. I don't believe we require, I don't believe we don't have it for non-ID. How am I trying to say this? I'm sorry. I believe it's just they either have it or they don't, and if they're ID or non-ID.
Okay, great. Next question here. We have a few coming in asking about vial type recommendations for IVF. What we recommend, what are the 3 types of sperm vials that we recommend for IVF?
So I always recommend you talk to your clinic for an IVF procedure to see what preparation type they recommend for you. But as a non-medical professional, it's my understanding almost any of our vials could be used for an IVF procedure. I know the ICSI vials tend to be popular for that as well.
Correct. Yeah, agree.
Great. Okay. What happens if you have yet to use your sample in storage, but then 25 families by that donor are reported? Would they still allow the samples to be shipped to you when you're ready to use it?
Yes, we would still allow that because you have already purchased that donor. we wouldn't allow new sales. So if you had one vial in storage, shipped it out, didn't achieve a pregnancy, you couldn't buy more of that donor since it has already met the family limit, and they would we have to have a birth reported when the donor is restricted to sibling use only because of family limits being met.
Okay, great. If I wanted to do the process at home, will I need the doctor to approve it? And will the specimen need to be sent to my home?
So we are able to ship to a home address. We just require the correct paperwork to be on file. It's going to depend on what city and state you're going to be shipping to. We have to abide by state regulations as far as that. But please reach out to client services, either by phone or email, and we'd love to help you get the correct paperwork to have it shipped directly to your home address.
Okay. And then for the next question here, will a positive CMV donor transmit anything via the insemination process?
No. So again, the CMV positive just means that they have been exposed prior. So any active infections will not be in the actual sperm. So we also do a DNA extraction as well. So we check the actual sperm to see if there's any active infection, as well as the blood. So if there's any type of active infection, they will not be sold. They will be discarded.
All right. There seems to be less availability of ICI premium vials as compared to some of the other options. What is the reason for this?
That's a great question. Our clients purchase different varieties of preparation types. I've seen people purchase several IUI premiums, several ICI premium. It depends a little bit on everybody's individual insemination plan and what procedures they're planning on doing or how they're planning on achieving a pregnancy. I don't believe they're produced at different rates. Right, Christina? They're not produced at different rates, but
our lab
available.
Yeah, our labs always, they have a different like ratio of how many vials that they're trying to get. Like, so if they'll try to get the IUI specimens versus the ICI specimens. Sometimes, their specimen quality wasn't as great that day. So maybe they'll have ICSI or ART vials. So it just depends on their specimen quality when they leave their deposit. But for the most part, we try to have a good ratio of all the different ones. But again, like Doreen said, like, clients will purchase what they want for those donors. And sometimes maybe they might purchase a lot more than, if they want to purchase 6 at one time. So obviously the availability, depletes. But as far as the lab side go, we try to do the ratio accordingly.
Okay. How likely are donors to continue donations if they are low on vials?
So we've had donors, we ask for them to donate like at least 6 months. We want to have ample amount of vials for a donor because we go through a very rigorous program for these program donors. It takes 4 to 6 weeks for them to even be accepted into a program. And we have to get as much vials as we can as possible. I know from our sites, a lot of our donors are, we still have donors that are donating for like a year to, 2 years or so. But sometimes donors might move. A lot of them are in school, so they might move away. So it's hard for them. They can't, come in. It's work schedule, yada yada. But we definitely ask them for at least, like at least 6 months to participate in the program.
We had another related question. How does the notification process work for those seeking a specific vial type from a donor who doesn't have any currently available? Excuse me. How long do people typically have to wait for that vial type to become available? So kind of related to that.
Yeah, so we do our donor testing every 3 months. We actually do 6 months because the fact that FDA regulates us and we have to keep a vial in quarantine for 180 days. So that's approximately 6 months. So once the donor comes into our location, they will do their physical and blood work. So if everything passes and looks good, we can release, additional vials. Sometimes we'll do the 3 months and maybe we can release the vials if within 3 months, and if they're in high demand, if we're able to release, we can do like their blood work in a month. So it just kind of depends. Also, it also depends, make sure that they don't have any active infection or anything that comes out positive, because then those vials will be discarded.
Okay. All right, great. Are all donors tested for STDs? Are specimens isolated then retested for any STDs before a donor can purchase it?
Yes. So we do the STD panel that is required by FDA. And then we also, like I said, mentioned, we have to keep them in quarantine for at least 180 days. And then we will do another repaneling to be able to release those vials.
In a 2-mom family, can either partner's name be on the account? Does it have to be the one whose egg is being used or the one being inseminated?
So we can have both of our clients' names on the account, or usually there's an account holder. And on the terms of use on page 7, you can list a designated representative to be able to use the specimen. So we are able to work with that, but we do have to, for orders that ship out, have one patient listed as the patient to be inseminated.
Okay, great. And then another question here. What are my options for vials for home insemination?
So you can use the ICI, which is unwashed. Those are the primary or preferred type of vials to use. So if for some reason you can't find a donor that has the ICI vials, you can use 2 ICI ARTs, or you can technically use the IUI washed specimens as well. The preferred one is if you can find an ICI vial type, that's the preferred type to use.
And then we have another vial question here. How many vials are typically recommended to order?
So we recommend 4 vials for 3 to 4 vials for pregnancy attempts. I would also recommend purchasing as many as you're able to for the donor that's available. If you're trying to plan on building your family with more than one child or pregnancy, just because our donor vials do sell out very quickly.
How long can vials be stored before they begin to lose quality / have decreased viability?
We can store them as long as you need. I've been actually with PRS for more than 15 years, and I know that we've stored vials for almost close to 30 years now. So as long as they're kept, we have wonderful temperature control. Our lab, very rigorous, lab procedures to make sure all the vials are kept in our liquid nitrogen tanks. And then when you are ready to use them, then we would be able to put them in a liquid nitrogen vapor tank, and that's how we transport our vials. And we make sure that we are very good with quality control on that.
And Doreen, can you explain how does the vial buyback work?
Absolutely. So our buyback program is great if you're purchasing additional vials for family building and you don't use them for shipment all at once. As long as the vials have never left our facility, they're able to be returned for 50% of the original purchase price through the buyback program. We would send you a form for you to complete. Once you get that back, we'll process that form and be able to provide you the refund if you no longer wish to use those vials.
All right, great. And I think we have time for one more question here. So the final question that we have here is, why is there a specific question for the donors if they are of Jewish descent?
It's specifically for like testing and also like genetic testing. I know historically we've, for like the Jewish ancestry genetic testing, I want to say, oh, gosh, I can't remember what it's called, but there's like, the extensive panel if they are Jewish descent, but also too, we have a lot of clients who are requesting for Jewish descent. Doreen, do you guys get like a lot of questions about that? I can't remember the specific types because there's specific types of Jewish ancestry. But
It's the Ashkenazi Jew, is my understanding. Yes. But I don't know. I just know that that's what we test for their specific genetic traits that are found often in the Ashkenazi Jew community. And so we just want to make sure that those donors are tested for it. I know there are some of the donors from the catalog earlier, like older donors, I guess I would say, who have that question, and that way we specifically knew what we were testing for specific genetic traits.
Yeah, I remember the older donors. Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, that's it for questions. Thank you everyone for providing those for us today.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good day.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.